Holmes here, and of course, as always, I'm going to thank you guys for being part of the Jobu Sports Report, because without you guys, it doesn't work. You know, coronavirus has been a nightmare for all of us, but not everything that's coming from it is bad. I've had more time at home, so I've been able to actually start doing some work on the house that's been neglected for quite a while. I need to redo my siding. I don't know if I got the money to do that, but I've got a roof leak I got to take care of and some boards on the deck. So at least having some of this extra time is giving me a chance to do some of this stuff. And one of the things that we're going to need to start thinking about is, since we are at home, is making our own oasis and, you know, being more self-reliant. We don't know how the coronavirus is going to affect the food chain and stuff. So one of the things you can do to help mitigate some of this is have a garden. Now, you guys saw me actually growing lettuce and stuff in flower pots. I got my spice rack and things out there. I got spices growing in the window. And on the side of my house here, I have this area. Now, I have tilled this up, and you'll notice that there's one plant right there. That's actually a horseradish root that I probably put in about 10 years or so ago, and I've never actually dug it up. And the thing about horseradish is, once it's in there, you break off a piece of it, and the rest keeps on growing year after year. So I'm betting that that root system is huge in there because it's always been in there. Now, what I've done is, well, I pulled actually the vines growing up on the side of the house and got the pieces out of there. I had a little maple tree that was growing up here. I got rid of it. And I've actually tilled up the soil. I have an attachment for my string trimmer that'll do the job. It's not as good as a full tiller, but it'll do the job. It just pulls on the back. I've been trying to get out here and work on this for a while, but we've been literally having about rain every other day, so it's just been too muddy. Now, I got a couple of bags of compost and put in here, but you can see where I've worked up the soil. I'm down a good 4 or 5 inches in here. It's still a little bit wet in here, and I think I'll probably wait till tomorrow, let the sun bake this a little bit more. But I've got some onion sets that I can put in here, some yellow and white onions, real easy to grow. You put them out here, they'll get tall. When they start getting ready to go to seed, you want to pick them, but you can pick them, you can dry them and keep them in dry storage. They'll be there for months. I also have some cabbages that I'm going to set out now, which is a good cold vegetable that you can plant now as well, because it can tolerate the coldness. And about the end of the month, you know, the cabbages will take about 4 or 5 weeks or so before they're ready. You'll be able to pull those out, and then you can start putting out tomato plants and peppers, plants that like the heat. So we're going to have a great garden here, and in the fall we'll plant some more lettuce that you can have basically until frost comes through. And there's nothing better than coming out and getting fresh tomatoes out of your own garden, because they'll be so juicy and flavorful. I'll grow like habanero peppers and stuff in flower pots. You can see all my flower pots in here that have been here for years. But I'll have tomatoes, especially cherry tomatoes, love cherry tomatoes. And I'll have jalapenos, I'll have ghost peppers and habaneros, all growing out here. And that's one thing less that you actually have to go to the store and get. So we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna rake this a little bit more and let it dry out some, and then we're gonna plant some plants in here. And we'll water it on a regular basis. And we'll be in great shape. One other thing too, I do need to cut my grass. The good thing about this garden right here is it's a gentle hill. And I also have the gutter that's over here. The nice thing is the water comes down, and because the soil is worked up in here, it'll end up helping to suck that soil in, suck that moisture and hold it into the soil and not wash it away. There's actually a retaining wall right here because it does drop off on the other side. So it keeps the water in here, so you don't have to put a lot of water and stuff with it. But you do need to water it on a regular basis. But I can't wait to get some vegetables out of here. Well, hello guys, Mark Holmes here. And as always, I want to thank you guys for being part of the Jobu Sports Report. So yesterday, we tilled up our garden, and today, it was a little wet yesterday, so I didn't really get in here, didn't want to compact it too much. And I wanted to let it dry out a little bit before I went through and got ready to start growing some stuff. So today, we're actually going to start doing some early spring planting. And what I'm going to do is, I'm going to start out with some onions. And onions are about as easy as it gets to grow. And I was in Waynesboro, and I got some red onions. See, these are basically it. Little stalks. We're going to put these about 1 inch apart, and just going to leave the stalk growing out of there. And here, we bought a pound of white onions. Like that, same thing. So we're just going to plant those. We're just going to push those right into the ground a little bit, then put the soil on top of it. Boom, it's good to go. Let me show you all. Let me go down here. Now my back is killing me right now, so I'm actually going to go ahead and just get down on my hands and knees and do this because, well, hey, my nickname growing up used to be Pigpen, and if you ever watched Charlie Brown, you'd understand Pigpen. Now these onions are going to be great in salads. I love white onions, and I'm putting them about a little bit, maybe 1 inch, 1.25 inches apart. And what you can do is, as they start to come up, is you can kind of take out like every other one for spring onions, and that way you've got nice fresh onions for your salad. And then you've got about 3 inches apart between them to have full-size onions, and that way you'll be able to get the most yield out of it. And while I'm sitting here, I'm going to try and take care of the same spot, bury that over, and then keep on moving. Now my parents, of course, they have a much bigger garden, and it's amazing because I get tired working here in the garden. My father's 81 years old, or will be soon, and my mom's right behind him. And I don't know how they get so much gardening and stuff in. They have a huge garden. My mom grows and dad grow everything. In fact, my dad actually started his gardening probably well over a month ago because he starts all his own seeds. So we're just going to cover that over just a little bit there. Get those shoots out. Cover those onions up just a little bit below the surface. And in about a week, we'll see the onions beginning to sprout up over there. And we'll see these guys kind of come to life as well. The thing we also have is, because this is kind of your early spring crop, in my climate, it's still kind of cool. In fact, we had a frost warning last night. So you can't plant like peppers and tomatoes and things like that just yet. We'll be doing that more towards the end of the month. I can't wait because up on my deck, I'll grow jalapeno peppers and red peppers and green peppers and habaneros. I'll do some Thai chili peppers. Pretty much, if there's a hot pepper out there, I'm gonna grow it. Now, if you have too many of these onions, what you can do is you can actually put them in the refrigerator and save them for later on, because it's actually really nice to get onions growing in the fall as well. Sometimes, if you're in the country, sometimes it's easier to find fall crops than it is towards the home centers. Home centers basically get their stuff in the springtime, and once it's gone, it's gone. Oh, I can't wait to have some nice onions and salads. I up on the deck have, actually in flower pots, I have lettuce that's growing. It's actually, some of it's almost ready to get picked. Some of it's going to take a few more weeks. But with the coronavirus doing all the stuff that it's doing right now, anything that we can do to help take some of the pressure off of the food supply is a benefit. Even if it's only a couple of salads. If everybody grows a couple of salads, well, that's a little bit more for everybody else to have. The other great thing too is as you start harvesting your own vegetables, what you're going to find is you're going to find out that the food that you grow is a lot different than what's commercially bought in the store. For example, you know how the tomatoes are hard as a rock? Well, when you grow actually fresh tomatoes, you'll find that they're going to end up being nice and juicy and flavorful. The reason being is they actually grow the tomatoes so that way they ripen all at the same time and that they stay firm for shipping, which, because if it's coming from California all the way to the East Coast, you don't want a tomato plant that's going to end up being a tomato that's going to be rotten by the time you get it to market. So it's bred to be that way. Another thing is you're going to find out you got to pull weeds in your garden. Well, if you ever go in the country riding around, what you'll notice when you look and you see all those great corn plants and stuff, you see everything out there growing in the fields. You just see the plant. You never ever see weeds. Well, there's a reason behind that, and that reason is they go through and they spray the fields with pesticides, and it kills everything. Kills any weed particles or anything that's in there before they plant the crop. And then the crops are genetically modified and they're resistant to the chemicals. So we are in fact ingesting some of the chemicals that kill the weeds. Now these are from my dad. He actually started these in his, he has like growing spots in his house with plant lights. You can see how nice the root is in here, and I'm digging down about 5 inches or so, loosening up the soil. And I'm going to put these in here about, say, 10 inches or so apart. And then I'm going to put some water in before I backfill it. And these are going to be some cabbages. And about 5 weeks from now, we'll have nice heads of cabbage. And we'll come back and revisit this at that point. Now, I'm doing a little test because these are the ones my dad actually grew. And I'm trying to loosen up the roots just a little bit in here. These are ones that we actually got from our home center. So we'll see if there's a difference between them. Now, once it gets warmer, towards the end of the month, we'll actually be able to start planting some tomato plants out here, which will be great. Tomatoes, oh, I love my cherry tomatoes, and I love my peppers. That's more of a summer crop. Okay. Now, one thing that'll happen when you buy your plants at the home centers, what we'll have a tendency to want to do is we want to buy plants that are real big and stuff in the pots and things because we want that instant gratification. But I'm going to tell you, one, you're wasting your money. Two, you're actually buying a plant that may be partially damaged because it may end up being that it's root bound and it's gotten used to growing in that container. And sometimes when you go to transplant it, they won't do as well. So you're actually better off getting some plants that are not huge. Okay. If I can get up my bad back. Got me a bucket of water here. I don't want to hose it down and hurt the plants too much. I want to put plenty of water in there for them. Now this used to be a flower bed that I had, but I decided at this point with the coronavirus, I think I'd rather eat than look at just flowers. And then we're just going to backfill some soil around it. And we'll find out if my parents' green thumb translates to me at all. Oh, there's a rock. Okay. And what we'll do is we'll check back on our little garden here and see how we're doing. Now, one thing I do have to worry about is I used to have a couple of rabbits that used to hang out. In fact, there's a whole family of rabbits. So we'll have to see if they're going to come through and start eating up my vegetables and things. But that's it. We'll come out here, water it every couple of days or so if we don't get rain, and we'll see what we get. I'm Mark Holmes, and well, thank you for being part of the Joe Boo Sports Report and trying to be a little more self-reliant. I'll see you guys soon.